I apologize for that. I'm going to start again. Today is March 15, 2022. I'm Linda Gravani, Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council President. Tonight's meeting is the Outreach Committee meeting for Lake Balboa. Thank you. And the official committee is myself, Danica, Linda Schwering, and Alan Nelson. Alan is trying to get in, but he cannot for some reason. So Linda, myself, and Danica are the committee members for voting. So welcome. Number 2 is introductions and update regarding Outreach Committee. I think we all know each other. So Linda Schwering, raise your hand. There she is, Michael Cortez, Danica Middleton, and Gary Kay. And I, of course, am Linda. One of the committee members was Jim Stein. I called him and he said, no, he's officially not being on the committee. He could be on as a stakeholder, but he said no. And Annie Hanlon was previously the communications officer, and she resigned from the neighborhood council due to her work schedule. So there's a party of 4 for committee meetings, and tonight is a committee of 3. Number 3, discussion of possible action regarding in-person Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council meetings. Today, we found out that Park Van Nuys is acceptable per Vanessa Serrano. And then she says, I think. So we're going to go with that. We're good. So keep that in mind. There is another neighborhood council in our vicinity, which I will not name, that has gone maverick. And they already started in-person meetings with hybrid. So they are using Zoom so that the stakeholders can join in. And if you wish to come into a meeting room, they have a meeting room set up. And I'm going to pick their brain and find out how to do that. Because that I think is going to be in our near future. The Board of Neighborhood Commissioners is the one that's going to stay. Sorry, I have a hand up here. It's difficult to do all of this with one person. Here comes Ruth Doxey. Okay, it is 7:05 and Ruth Doxey has joined the committee meeting, who's also a board member. Ruth, are you going to be visible or no?
I'm here finally. Yay. Okay.
Okay, so this is Ruth Doxey, in case you forgot, Michael. Perfect. There are some stakeholders in various communities that feel unsafe unless a meeting facility is sanitized, etc., and so on, and COVID protocol. So that's why I think we need to have a hybrid meeting scheduled at whatever time they say we can meet. The difficulty is that Department of Neighborhood Empowerment done. They say, we're not ready. We are just not ready. And so we're going to have committees and we're going to have meetings, and then we'll let you know what happens. The problem is, it's SB 992, which is Senate Bill 992, which passed, says when COVID is over, we must meet in person. So the hybrid, we're going to lose a lot of people that are used to phoning in or Zooming in. So I am going to pursue that and see how we can do it over at Park Van Nuys. Number 4, digital discussion of possible action regarding draft digital communications policy. We talked about that a little bit at the LBNC meeting. I just want to really clarify it because we have more time at this meeting. What the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment is wanting is that we monitor all Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council social media, Nextdoor, Twitter, whatever we use, and each board member's personal websites and Twitter accounts, because once you are a board member, whatever you say that's going to be discussed at an open meeting could be discussed on social media. So when I said I will not be that administrator, by default, I am, because I'm the president. I don't know how to tweet. Like I said, I don't want to learn how to tweet. I don't care to do Facebook, not my thing. I do not have the time, Ruth, to watch your Facebook. And Michael, you're new. I don't even know which one to look at. So I absolutely voiced my opinion at the Valley Alliance of Neighborhood Councils. And I said, at best, this should be best practices. That if we want to say something about a building that's going to be developed, we can't talk about it. We can't talk about it to our neighbors. We can't talk about it to on Facebook. We can't tweet about it. We do have the right as a private citizen, but really when you take the oath and you're part of the community, if we're going to vote on it, we cannot discuss it amongst ourselves or outside of the meeting. So again, I think best practices, don't do any of that while you're a board member. So I just want to stress that to you all. You still have time. If you want, I can send out the council, the file, not the file, the where you can send your opinion, because I think it's huge. And if I'm forced to do this, I'm gone. I just will not. It's a job, and I didn't sign up to do a job. So I have a hand raised for Danica and then Ruth.
Is Ruth a committee member? You said she's a board member, but is she a committee member?
No.
Okay.
Ruth?
So I just wanted to clarify. So they're saying that, say for instance, we're going to be having like the senior symposium, we're going to be talking about funding that. We can't tell people like upcoming events that are going to be happening on Facebook or your Nextdoor or talk or anything like that. I mean, that's really stymieing what we're all about, trying to get the word out about things.
Well, that's a very fine line. The policy isn't out. They are voting on it, they being Board of Neighborhood Commissioners, on the 21st of March. And I don't know to what nth degree, but it could be construed, oh, I really love the senior symposium. Everyone should go.
Yeah,
well,
like
we're not going to
like
vote on
year.
anything after the fact, but before the fact, before we vote on it, it's a problem. Because now I'm swaying or could be swaying somebody to vote for the funds for one generation. Doesn't make sense, does it?
No.
But you can advertise it afterwards,
Correct.
after the vote is done.
Yeah. Again, the Brown Act says no backroom deals. If you're going to discuss something, you need to discuss it in public at a Brown Act compliant meeting. This is a Brown Act compliant meeting. We can talk about it here. But if I called Gary beforehand and say, hey, Gary, what do you think about? Now, take that to social media. That's a problem. It's a problem for me to talk to Gary beforehand It's a problem for us as board members and stakeholders to talk about it in social media while you're on the board. And that's a lot report taking, that's a lot of stuff. And so think about your talents if you wish to do it. I said no, I'm 100% against it. And in my personal opinion, I think the city is trying to get rid of neighborhood councils. They're trying to give us too many rules and regulations so that we will fail. And that when we do not follow what their rules are, then they can remove us from the board. I think if we all remember, the reason neighborhood councils came into being to begin with was because we were not getting the funds back in the valley and we were going to secede. And we're getting close to that again, because I speak to a lot of neighborhood councils, neighborhood council presidents, and we're ready with the tar and feathers, so to speak. So I would just want to stress, because this is outreach and the outreach committee, we need to be really aware, and we need to really bombard Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. And again, I recommended best practices, and it's just like 4 or 5 simple lines. While you're a board member of a neighborhood council, you cannot use social media for anything that may come before the neighborhood council. And what does that mean? It's really a wide view, but I think that's the easiest. And if you do, and somebody notices, then let Dunn take care of it. But I'm not the police officer. Linda Schwerin?
I agree that I think that we should have something set down in writing that's basic, that would be best practices for the council, so that we have our own guidelines. The council can vote on it, and then let the city do as they wish. And that wouldn't have nothing applicable to LBNC.
Well, the difficulty with that is that in the very beginning of General Manager Beltran's letter to Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, it says, Board of Neighborhood Department of Neighborhood Commissioners has the, she didn't say power, but has the authority to make policy. That's in one of the first 3 or 4 sentences. Now, it doesn't mean that they should make policy, but the rest came as to 9 pages of policy. Stunned you, didn't I? Anyway, FYI. Number 5. Discussion of possible action regarding scheduling preparation for Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council activities, including social media. I don't know if I can screen share. If I find my mouse, I'll be able to do it better. Bear with me just a moment, if you please. I don't think I can. Oh, I didn't pull it out. I'm sorry. I apologize. I sent the board or the committee members a copy of things that I put together, which I forwarded previously to the neighborhood council at large. And that was the form for who does what and what is needed. I don't know if Danica, maybe you could find it.
Form for what?
What do you need to share? Sorry.
It's the list of outreach events. When somebody has an outreach event, do you need funding? The volunteers for the event, what you need, clipboards, iPads.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like a spreadsheet, correct?
It was.
Um,
Anyway, I brought it back to life because outreach is specifically for website things, emails, getting materials ready for handout, the promotional items and things like that. And it morphed into outreach is in charge of any event. And that's really not fair to the outreach chair. So I put this together about 3 years ago. And it is so that any board member who brings something before the neighborhood council is in charge of it. If you want that activity to happen, you're in charge. It's a good way to learn what the city's all about, how to get through all the hoops. I
found the file. Hang on. Are you
Oh,
talking
okay,
about
thank
this?
you.
Are you talking about that?
No, no. But it is, yeah, that's an event file. So this is the form that you need to complete for an event, and that you need to send out like 90 days in advance. And Linda can tell you that this is not the treasurer's duty to fill out the form. It's the person that wants the event should fill out the form and get it all ready so the treasurer can present it, and that outreach knows that this event is going to go on to the Lake Balboa agenda, and that when it's approved, these are the things that you need to do and think about. Basically, section A is, do you need funding? Must be on the agenda board to vote. If it's approved, you need to know who your vendors are, and you need to identify who those vendors are so that city clerks can say, yes, you can use them, or no, you can't. Number one under there is get volunteers. It's not a last minute thing. It's like, okay, we're going to have this event, and who can volunteer? My calendar for the year fills up very, very fast. I do many, many different things. So if I don't know about something happening, it's a difficult thing for me to rearrange my schedule many times. And then I, of course, go see my family up north. The other thing is who else can you invite? If you don't want to jump through all those hoops, maybe you can invite, like One Generation invited us as a sponsor. So being a sponsor, we just set up the table, we give money, we set up the table, and it's their event. Maybe that can happen. We discussed at the LBNC meeting that movie night, maybe Nuri Martinez will be able to sponsor or do the event, and we tag on. That means that she says, okay, the movie will start at this time, and we can decide what movie, but she gets the city to say yes. And that's okay, but we're not in charge. So that's a decision you need to make. Do you want to go through all those hoops? Yes or no? Secondly, do you need clipboards, iPads, banners, tables, wear your t-shirts, the pop-up tent? Do you need chairs? Do you need water? What else do you need? So this is a document that I'm trying to get so that everybody will have it and say, okay, here's my checklist, and it'll go semi-smoothly. There's always last minute changes. And the one thing that's of real importance is that the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council goes out on Saturday mornings, every Saturday morning. So if your event is on a Friday, don't wait 2 weeks before. You can be advertising it several weeks before. And Aaron needs to be told about it. He can find out by happenstance, or he heard, or he saw something, or he attended our meeting. And for your information, Michael, Aaron DeVandry is our webmaster, and he's webmaster to several neighborhood councils. So we've been lax in that in the past of telling him what's happening when, and if we're having a meeting or not having a meeting, or this has changed or that's changed, and he has been left in the dark. Also, create articles to promote the event. And the articles would be, okay, are you going to send out an email? What's it going to say? You can do that way ahead. You don't need to wait until the last minute to do it. Jeremy, who is our past communications officer, has us paying for software that you load up. You can load it up once a month. You can load it up 2 months ahead, and then hit the go button. And when it's supposed to go, it goes. I don't know about that. I know that exists, but I don't have the skill set. But if we do something on a schedule, and there is a schedule for when these things need to happen, you can back into it to give the webmaster the information that's needed, communications officer, so they can follow up on it. And it goes without inundating, oh, last minute things, we need to do this and that. And again, now it's Nextdoor, Facebook, Twitter, newsletter, emails, that kind of stuff. And then what's needed for the day of, like the booth. Do you need the tripod? Do you need clipboards again, brochures? What is it that you need to hand out? What's going to be handed out, and all of that. So I'm sorry, we don't have, Tom Riley is here. Sorry. Okay, it is 7:24 and Tom Riley is joining us. So anyway, this is a form that I created that I think we need to look at, and I'll be happy to send it to everybody that's on the Zoom tonight to add things. And Michael, you'd be great at this for the simple reason you're going to say, oh yeah, what do we need? What would it happen? When you look at this, and we can just embellish it so that it'll be easy for people to do events in the future, because we've been not doing anything for the last 2 years. Linda, and then Michael. Hi, Tom.
Hi.
I agree. I think that the spreadsheet with the information for events, this is probably the third version that our neighborhood council has had, and the one you created is probably the most detailed and the most helpful for any board member who might be wanting to participate or spearhead a particular event or an activity. So my suggestion would be that this or something almost like it be included in a best practices form that's made available to the entire neighborhood council and available for use at any time, and encourage board members to be sure and look at it, because just saying, oh, I'd like to do this doesn't mean that it's just going to happen. Once everyone gets a chance to look at this form, it's easy to see there's a lot involved. Once it's coordinated, it can be put together and it can be a great event. But my suggestion would be to include this as a best practices template so that any board member on the neighborhood council could use it to promote any kind of an activity.
Well, this is one of the things that I mentioned at the last meeting, that we're not using Google Suites, which is now Google Workspace or Workplace, should be there for everyone to see. And I've been on the neighborhood council for 10 years and I've never seen any list prior to my creating this one. So I don't know where it's living. And so again, we need to have all of this stuff available. And I think we're paying for Google Suites or Google, whatever it's called. So we should use it. Michael?
Yeah, I was going to just say I'm happy to, once you send it out, look at it, add my, pieces for the checklist, and then help you circulate it with the committee for further input so that we get everything at a timely manner. And then with outreach, you mentioned that Aaron DeAndre isn't getting information. I'm happy to assist with that. where need be so that he can get things on the website or Facebook or other
Well,
social media.
our
Did I just open
communications.
Pandora's box?
We have, the executive committee is the president, first vice president, second vice president, secretary, treasurer, and communications officer.
Communications chair.
And the communications officer is vacant at the moment, and that's why I'm chairing this committee meeting. Would that be something that you'd be interested in, being communications officer, if we make it easier than it has been in the past?
I mean, I'm definitely interested, to help with outreach and, assist getting things out there in a timely manner and supporting whatever
Thank
can
you.
be done.
Help is different than being communications officer. So think about it.
Okay.
I put you on the hot spot. I realize that, but that was intentional. And if you think you would like to do it, and again, some of the things that we're talking about tonight is trying to hone it in so it isn't a huge responsibility, because in the past, the communications officer was, okay, we need to get volunteers for this. We need to do that. We need to do this. And I want to take that to a protocol here. This is what all needs to happen, so that this sheet can be given to whoever wants the senior symposium. Okay, Linda, so you're in charge of this. Give all of these things. Copy goes to communications officer, so that the communications officer will say, hey, we still need your thing. You said it was going to be ready on March 13th. It's the 15th. Where is it?
Are you
Just
serious?
Just to be, I'm losing my thought. Just to be sure that everything happens like it should happen, and that there's a real protocol for things, that it just doesn't have, oh my God, I forgot about this. So that, the burden isn't all on one person. Linda, you have something to add?
Okay, two things. One, let me go back to what you said, Linda, about later.com. I received recently notice from Later telling me that if I would like, in 30 minutes or less, I can become very proficient in everything that we need to know about Later to use it better with the neighborhood council. I haven't responded to that, but I certainly can. And then if it's not something that's within my realm, or I can at least make a report back to the council or the committee.
I don't know if Later, and what Later is the scheduling of when emails go out, when social media goes out. That's what Jeremy preferred. I don't know if that's necessarily the best, and it is a wrinkle because we get, what is it, 6 cents for an international transfer of funds or something like that every month. It's on the MER, and that's a nuisance. It's ironed out, but maybe there's something better. Maybe there's something else out there, and I'm not the right person to ask, Michael.
Would it be worth it for me to check it and then report back to the committee for them to decide whether this sounds like it's a positive or a waste of money?
Is this to send email blast? I'm sorry. Is this to send email communication
It's
out
to send all social media. So the way I understand that it works is, okay, you want Nextdoor to happen on this day. You want Facebook to happen on this day. 2 months out, we want to do X, or 3 months out, we want to do thus and so. And who's going to be taking pictures for Instagram while we're at that location? I mean, that you can't necessarily do ahead, that location, but all the advertising that we haven't done that we should do. We used to have a newsletter, and we were begging people, can you please write an article for your committee? And it just doesn't work. So I don't think we're going to have a newsletter. But if we do a lot of outreach, people will hear about us and see us. But if it's not done in a timely fashion, who's coming? You need to plan ahead. And again, that's what I'm trying to do, is just to get us organized. Danica?
Honestly, I think this is something that whoever the communications officer will know what type of program they prefer to work with. So I don't think we should make a decision on this or spend the time to make a decision on this when the communications chair could say, no, I've got this that I use all the time and that's what I'm going to use.
I agree with that, because I'm not qualified to even take a guess. Michael?
Yeah, Linda, if you mind sending me the program that you did research on, I'm happy to look into it as well too, and then also share with everyone else some ideas I have. I'm just thinking based off of what we use at Metro and how to communicate to folks in the public. So there's different programs that can work easily.
I will get you in touch with Jeremy, who
Okay, great.
was the communications officer, and Jeremy is the one that said that's what he wants to use. So we got it. But again, next person might want something different. I don't know. Linda, do you have anything new to add? Because we need to move on.
Yes, I know. In the meantime, in my free time, I'll go back and look at what later has to offer, and then I can get back with you or whoever needs to do it in an unofficial manner. I do want to make
The
a
training, you
comment.
mean?
No, what you said about later and what it can be used for and do for the council. I can spend 5 or 10 minutes and find out more information, than I can send it to whoever you want me to send it to.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing is, you mentioned about the senior symposium and events. Did you mention me by name, or was that hypothetical?
I was using it as an example.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so number 6, discussion and possible action regarding upcoming activities. So we have the senior symposium that's coming up on May 14th. And Jeremy, Gary, James, and Michael have volunteered for that. And simultaneously, you did not, Gary?
No. For the senior
Okay.
symposium, no.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
You're off the list. And simultaneously is the Linda Pruitt Emergency Preparedness Memorial event. And I've got Sandy, Joseph, Linda Schwerin, myself, and I don't know who else, but, oh, that's where Gary is. Thank you. Okay, so if we had, oh,
Me
Ruth.
too.
Okay,
Yeah.
Ruth, thank you.
I told Sandy Joseph long ago that I would.
Thank you. Just a quick update on that. I don't know anything about One Generation and the Senior Symposium other than tables are provided, chairs are provided, and that function is going to have the pop-up. We need to have handouts, and we've got t-shirts, the I Heart Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council t-shirts. So we need to know what is needed for that and when it's needed. And the same kind of thing for, you have the sheet that we were just talking about. If you see anything on there, let us know. Linda hasn't yet gotten the key from Jim Stein, but she and I, the two Lindas, have keys to the storage unit. So, and we're both on Paso Robles, so we're real close to the storage unit. So if you need something, we can be there in a flash if we're home. The other things that are coming up is CATS, Center for Assault Treatment Services. I think I can screen share that. Hold on one second. Again, I apologize. I'm not proficient in this.
Linda, can we go back to the two events you just mentioned, just briefly?
Yeah,
Okay. Since the council has two events on the same day, and we will not need the pop-up at the Park VNY, and we have a large tablecloth that's logoed for Lake Balboa. So
thank you.
my thought is, should we be not talking about this now as to the major item that is going to need to be going either to one event or the other, since they're going to be held simultaneously?
Like what?
Okay. In my view, the pop-up could be used at the symposium.
Yes,
The large logoed table cover at the emergency preparedness event. The
correct.
pop-up banner at the senior symposium event. And there are separate banners that we have that are, I don't know, they're 3x6 or 4x8 or something, that could be split between the two events and be used where they would be most effective. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And that is my thought exactly. Because I'll fill you in on the emergency preparedness event. It's a gold mine that you found for us, Linda, Park Van Nuys, because they are so willing to help the community. They have all the tables and chairs that we need. They will put tablecloths on all the tables. They will have the facility, the hangar, set up like the Thursday before. So they're moving the aircraft out of the hangar and they're setting it all up. So
On Friday.
Pardon me?
On Friday.
Okay. I heard Thursday. And we don't need tables and chairs. They've got the foundation, the Emergency Preparedness Foundation has sanitizing stations, which we'll be able to use if indeed we're required to. So they're so willing to work with us, and it's just amazing. But I agree with you, we need the tablecloth so that we can identify that this is Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council, not using one of their tablecloths. And all the other folks that are coming for the EP event itself have their own tablecloths and their own paraphernalia to hand out. For Lake Balboa, the handout stuff that we have for the EP committee has been put aside. It was in storage. We found some things that Linda Pruitt had that we're able to use as handouts. And then we'll also have some t-shirts and whatever, but that still has to be determined how much of the t-shirts we want. And Linda Schwering, you've chaired the or brought the one generation to us previously, so you can identify what of the things that you need. Correct? Linda?
Yes, I would say that that's probably correct. I can do that. It's going to be outdoors as it was last year on the soccer field.
I don't mean now. What I'm saying is, what do you need for the day of the event? Can you fill out the form and let us know what it is that you would like to have so we can gather it?
Are you referring to the form we just discussed?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you want it on social media, what do you want the social media to say? Do you want e-blasts? What do you want the e-blast to say? I don't want to leave it to somebody else who doesn't know anything about that event that can't speak to it and write, come one, come all to this event. And, you know, if you need help, just raise your hand.
Okay. And actually, I thought that I would be working on the emergency preparedness event. I only brought the senior symposium event
I'm sorry, yes,
to the board, but I'll do whatever I can.
I understand, but since you're going to the EP event, you'll be at the EP event. But knowing what happens at the senior symposium, you can say, oh, we need this, we need that, and make sure that happens. And you can write a little blurb for an e-blast because you're familiar. Okay,
Oh, I'm so good at that.
thank
Okay.
you. Gary?
Thank you. It sounds like from what you've said that the Park VNY provides the canopies. From my experience last year at the Senior Symposium, because I had helped Jim Stein and Linda Schwerin, and I went and got the tent, the pop-up tent, and brought it to the soccer fields where the Senior Symposium was. And it turns out that they had tents available, but we ended up using ours because it's branded and it makes sense. But seeing that the Senior Symposium is not our event and the EP Memorial event is a Lake Balboa event, I think that since it's apples to apples here, that the branded tent should be at the Lake Balboa sponsored event for more exposure, and then just use a generic tent at the Senior Symposium. Just my 2 cents. If we're going to be bringing a tent somewhere, it feels like our branded tent should be at our event, not event that we are not putting on, but just participating in. That's all.
I don't remember if, I believe Park VNY has pop-ups also that they were using. And we felt that if you're out in the sun, that the Senior Symposium may want shade, and that the tablecloth would identify. And of course, we would be in a prominent location when people come into the hangar, that they will see that it's Lake Balboa. And I think that that might do it. But you know, if let's decide who gets the pop-up. Michael, what would you like to say? And Ruth?
I was just going to say for the senior event, since Jeremy and I are going to be attending, happy to help Linda, whatever she checks off on that list. If it means putting together a news email blast or something, we can write it up. Or I can only speak for myself, not Jeremy, but I'm happy to assist with it. And I'm also happy to reach out to the senior center and do more research about what they're offering and report back on what we need as well too.
Thank you for that. Ruth?
A question, isn't the memorial event inside the hangar? So
Yes.
a pop-up isn't needed then, is it?
Not really.
So why bring it if it's not needed, I guess. To have the
And we'll
name out
be at the entryway. They have to get past us to get inside. Linda?
I'm unmuted. Okay. Since the symposium is outdoors, all the neighborhood councils who will be co-sponsoring or attending the event will all pretty much be in the same area. So in my view, having each neighborhood council with their own pop-up canopy, if it's branded, that would be more important than having a Lake Balboa table cover that we could use in the hangar, use the Park VNY's pop-up, and then if we need to, we have Lake Balboa vinyl banners that we can use either nearby the table and also with the entrance. And I believe there is also provisions in the budget for something to go on the outside of the building.
Thank you. Ruth, do you have another question or comment? Okay. I think we've discussed this enough and we know who's doing what or who can find out the information. Linda, would you lower your hand, please? So we got notification for CATS, which is Center for Salt Treatment Services. Lake Balboa has sponsored that event in the past. It's going to be, it's not going to be at Lake Balboa. It was always at Lake Balboa where people would run around the lake. But it's going to be, let me get my, It's going to be at Hanson Dam Park. I don't know why they changed the location. And it's going to be on Saturday, April 23. And that's why we actually purchased the bandanas. If you remember when we had all the bandanas, that was for a sweatband. It was for the back of the little dogs that are going to do the dog walk. It was for around your neck. It was just identification for Lake Balboa. So we've attended these in the past. We just got this email. I got it actually on Sunday. I asked Arlita, they go all the time. And they are giving away free expo form, a no fee expo form for a booth. Oh, thank you, Ruth. Are you doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if we wish to participate in this, if we would like a booth. Hanson Dam is in Lakeview Terrace. It is not close to Lake Balboa. And I don't know if, as far as outreach is concerned, I don't know if there are people that are going to be walking, running on the 5K, 10K, or walking with their dogs. So I don't know how much outreach we'll have. What Arleta Neighborhood Council does is they sponsor the runners and they get people involved, and they make t-shirts, and they do something with the sign up, like the first 50 people that sign up for it, they get a bonus. And I don't know quite how they do it, but they assist with the entry fees somehow. And they have all these t-shirts for the event, and it's got Arleta Neighborhood Council on it, as well as the 5K or 10K. So this means that somebody would need to, or somebodies would need to volunteer to hand out our goodies. But I'm wondering, since it's Hanson Dam, if it's worth our time. The NPG, if we wish to contribute funds, we can do that without having a presence. If we want to do that, they will be happy to have our logo up on the screen, etc. But then we would need to provide funds. And again, I'll just say there's lots of worthy causes. We can't do them all. Our function as a neighborhood council is to get the city to do its job. And how do we do that? Is for outreach. Hi, do you know we're a neighborhood council? What do you think about A, B, and C? Their city is voting on this. That's what our task is. And I'm not positive, and we've contributed to this before, I'm not positive in a Hanson Dam that it's to our benefit. I'd like some discussion on that. Or not. Is this something?
What would we gain by being involved with the whole thing? Hanson Dam is 1,000 miles away.
Well,
why
see,
take
that's,
a-
I agree with that. And that's the
why
reason
take
why,
a-
if they were at our park over here, Lake Balboa Park, would be a different story in my mind. But Linda, and then Danica, and then Ruth.
I'll come back.
I think I agree with that. I know we have sponsored it in the past, and if I understand correctly, it's coming from Northridge Hospital Dignity Health, CATS. However, it is not local for us, and I don't know how dedicated we're going to be able to have Lake Balboa in providing a presence. And in addition to that, besides our presence, we have to figure what is going to be, in addition to what we're doing, the benefit to our community. And in my view, I don't think I see a large benefit to our community for this event in this location.
Thank you. Danica and then Ruth.
I agree with everyone so far. I don't think it's a benefit to our community. I'm a community member. I have not even heard of this event and it's only 4 weeks out. So I don't think any of their advertising and promo is really going to reach our community. I think they're going to concentrate it around the Hanson Dam area.
Thank
And I
you,
don't
Ruth.
think we should provide funds for the MPG either, because it's a $40, $20 entrance fee. They're making money.
Thank you. Ruth?
Well, I supporting them because it's Northridge Hospital. I'm pretty sure it's probably the closest hospital to Lake Balboa, our area. It's just down the street on Roscoe, not quite to Reseda. And if anyone, I don't know if anyone has been assaulted or has been had the benefit of this assault treatment center. I think for the community, I'm sure they've served people in Lake Balboa and the whole valley. So I think it's a good cause. I would support, like, I think before we've donated quite a bit, but it's like at least $250 or something like that.
To add on to that, LAPD speaks very highly of the program because they have computers for the police officers to use when there is incidents of family abuse and the like. So while it's a worthy cause, and we know it's a worthy cause, do we want someone to take their time to be at the booth? Or do you just want to give funds, or none of the above? Michael?
Yeah, I would agree with the other council members about, at least for this year, potentially not sponsoring it. I can imagine it's probably going to cycle around to different communities and land back into Lake Balboa at one point. And I agree that there's probably many organizations that are going to give a lot of funds because it's in Hanson Dam. Somewhere the Northeast Valley will probably pick up a lot of folks sponsoring it in that area. As an olive branch, I mean, there are probably people that may go to it from Lake Balboa. Maybe a one-time we can do a post on Facebook just advertising it. If people want to register, here's the info. Instead of giving any funds towards it, you can give that free social media, a one-time post if you want to just offer that as an option.
Yeah, I think that's I'm looking here. The vendor logos and all of that had to be in by March 30th. So this is really late. And if we were to provide funds, etc., we would need to know ahead of time, because that would be in April would be the next time we could do that. Do we need to vote on that, or do we just take official vote? I think we need to make it official, although it's not listed specifically. I wanted it more for, because the neighborhood council wants to know about all of the NPGs that come, all the requests for money to come to LBNC. So if this committee doesn't wish to bring it forward, we won't. So let's take a vote.
Do we need a motion first, Linda?
Yes, somebody want to make a motion?
Sure. I move that we not support the CATS event on Saturday, April 23rd.
Ravani
I said-
seconds.
Oh,
Thank you. Danica. Okay, so again, the committee is Gravani, is Danica, and Schwerin, the three of us.
Okay, Linda Gravani, your vote?
Yes, yes, we're not.
Correct.
Yes, we are not participating.
Correct. Schwerin
yes, we are not participating.
and Middleton's a yes, we're not participating. So
Thank you
3
very
yeses, 0 no's. Motion
Appreciate
passes.
it. Appreciate it. Bull Creek cleanup, Ruth, you had mentioned that in an email that there is a date coming up. Do you know what date that might be?
Let me
The
grab my
Bull Creek,
notes.
the Bull Creek cleanup, the river cleanup.
I gotta look at my notes a second. I generally think of this as being outreach.
Well, they did want funds. Is that correct?
Oh, that one. I thought you were talking about the Audubon one, like April something.
There's, they've got on events, Eventbrite, they've got two, April 16th, Saturday at 9:30, LA River Cleanup. And then Earth Week River Cleanup. No, that's Lewis McAdams Park. Never mind.
Well, I kind of dropped the ball on this. Yeah. There's another- Can I look at my email and get back to you?
Sure, we'll pass on. And some of these are ideas also, just FYI. There have been neighborhood councils on Earth Day that do shred events or a spring cleaning event. And is that something that we want to look at maybe for summer or in the fall? It's very well attended, if you will, but we don't do much other than, because of COVID, just collecting their stuff and shredding it. And that it is an event and people do know that we exist, but there's very little that we can communicate with the folks. So I was thinking a shred event maybe towards the fall, that we could do the event when we're probably out and about for whatever we wish to be out and about for. Linda? Muted.
I had something to add to what you were talking about with neighborhood purposes grants, but instead with a response to what you were just saying, I think that the shred event has always been something successful, and Gary was the spearhead, I believe, weren't you, Gary, for the last one that we did during COVID? Yes.
Yep.
And even considering COVID-19 and all the things that went with it, it was really quite successful. So I think it's a great idea for the fall, even before the end of the fiscal year, if it was something that we could physically do. That would be my point on that. Before, can I say one more thing before we continue? Because I have an additional NPG request.
I'll ask for that. We want to talk about a shred event right at the moment.
Okay, then can
So
we
do
come
we
back
want it to come out of next year's budget? Danica and then Ruth?
I really highly think spring cleaning, everybody's been spring cleaning. Now that they're getting out and about, I think a shred event headed up by Gary, I'll help you, Gary, in May would be awesome. And we can do it just like we did at Mulholland. It was a drive up. It was super great.
I hope you don't want it on May 14th.
Yeah.
I don't know what's on May 14th. I don't know.
Emergency preparedness and senior symposium.
Oh, oh, they're in May. Well, then never mind. Well, you know what? We could do it in June and we can publicize it at the movie night.
Yes, we could.
That's true. Maybe have it at the movie night. But I don't think
Well,
they'll
I don't
come
know
at
if
night.
people are going to schlep their shreds and their
Yeah.
kids at the same time.
And their chairs, that's true. Ruth?
Well, I found the date for the cleanup. I don't know if you want to hear about that
Okay,
now.
let's finish out the shred.
Okay.
So is that something we want to do this fiscal year or next fiscal year? And since you were volunteered, Gary, is that something you'd be interested in?
I will get back to you on that. As far as May dates go, highly unlikely. I'd be open to looking at my calendar and seeing if there's any June dates that work, but I won't be able to commit to it at this time on this committee meeting.
Okay, but is that something that you would want to head up or co
Not
with? Sorry?
Not necessarily. That's why I will check my calendar before I agree to do it or to even support somebody else.
Okay, Danica?
I think then, since we already have the 2 events in May and then the movie night in June, we should push it to the fall
Okay,
for the next fiscal year.
okay.
Just to clarify, we have I believe in May, Linda Gravani having a neighborhood watch meeting, and in June, Danica, and that's my first priority and an obligation. So I'm not saying that we can't find a June date. I'm just saying I can't do it right now during this meeting. So up to you guys if you want to table it or if you want to just push it to next year.
I think we can push it to next year. It's not one of the things I'm trying to do is think of things that we can spend money on and not just throw it away. And that's why I want some discussion on some of these different things that we could do. And if we do them, what is it that we need as far as promotional items are concerned? And Michael, you've been on the neighborhood council before, so you know that we need, we get more money July 1, and what we don't spend by the end of June, we lose. In the past, last year, they allowed $10,000 carryover because of COVID. We couldn't do any major outreach. So they allowed that. It doesn't mean it's going to be allowed again. And I want to spend our money. Danica.
Sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
Okay, so I want to spend our money, and that's why I'm talking about some of these things. It's not necessarily to vote on. And when I ask for agenda items, we can say that we discuss that we would like to have this and it's going to cost X, Y, and Z and dates to follow or whatever, but just start thinking about that. Ruth.
All right, so the cleanup that she proposed for Bull Creek, the date was June 11th, which is the same date as the movie night. And she was on sabbatical from February 14th to mid-March. So that's now. She hasn't contacted me again. So I don't know, what, if she wants the same support for the same thing. We donated $1,000 for the gaiters and the bags and gloves, I think, for people that were going to be, volunteers at that site. And then our logo goes on there. They have a I don't know what you call it, sort of like, digital brochure that Lake Balboa is on the bottom of their advertising page. Last year,
This is done every year, right? At Bull Creek.
Right. Jonah Glickman was the Neri Martinez's rep. He was there. So I know Viana Parra would be there too. And it was Neri Martinez's pop-up, I think, or else Folar's pop-up. It's Folar's event. So we gave out, I think I gave the bandanas. We had some bandanas left and people.
Yeah, so that'd be great tying around with all the dirt,
Well, they have the neck gaiters too, which you could come up, you could put them all the way up over your head if you wanted to come up to here or the neck gaiters. That was one of the things we paid for. It's like a huge headband, right? That you can expand. You can either scrunch it down just around your neck or you can put it up over your nose and back of your head and all that.
So is that something you would like to present to the board on April 6th?
If you don't think it's too much to have two things going on, like June 11th, it's two totally different things, but yes, I know, well,
Well,
I'll
I don't know that the cleanup would be in the daytime and the movie would be
Right.
in the evening. And we don't necessarily need to have a booth there because
right, no, we
people are
wouldn't have to do
clearing
it.
out all over. I think the participation would be help clean up.
Right,
And if you can't help clean up, then can you help us with the gator things or whatever they're called?
right. Okay, yeah, so I can do that. I can
Okay,
contact Zoe Witt and find out what she's thinking and then send you a agenda request.
perfect. Thank you. So that's agreeable, right? So other things to think about, the schools. We had a request from Galt Street School, which didn't make it to our March agenda. They want $1,000 for their garden. And again, this is nice to do. Galt Street School got $5,000 from us for robotics. And I don't like to play favorites, and it seems like if we give more money for this, and again, what is the benefit to the neighborhood council? Our little logo is going to go on something, and maybe the logo is not the right thing to go on, and maybe it's the QR code. I'm not familiar again with the QR codes. I know that somehow you take your phone and you find out all this wonderful information. I don't know how to do it. But those that do will find out all about the neighborhood council. So maybe the logo and a QR code on stuff that we do in the future would be a benefit. But helping with the garden is a nice thing to do. I personally am not excited about donating $1,000 for that project. Linda Schwerin, and then Danica, and then Ruth. You're muted, Linda.
Yes, you just mentioned the NPG that I was going to bring up, and you must have seen it as I did. It came as an email, and it was not for an NPG. It was forwarded under some odd subject.
Mhm.
And so what they were looking for is the $1,000. They're only asking from Lake Balboa. And what they want to do is start a garden in the school. And it would be for seeds and plants and bulbs and trellises and cages and hoses, etc. And I understand Linda G's point of view on this because we have donated in the past. However, it is a school that wants to do something, and perhaps if they are willing to put up a sign or a large size plaque in their garden that says this garden was sponsored by and helped created, funds donated by the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council. That might be something I would be interested in promoting.
Danica?
So when I was dropping off my holiday parade banner, chatting with the principal there, she was super excited about the garden. I did not even know she was submitting for funds about the garden at all. I really have seen Galt grow in the mere 5 years that I've been here. They had such a horrible reputation when I first moved here, and now their reputation is really rising up the ladder. And I don't think we should slight her because the other schools aren't submitting to us to get funding. I mean, she happens to be on it, and she wants her school to grow. And I think teaching children to garden is a fantastic, I mean, being sustainable is the way of the future. And we need to teach our children now. And, you know, $1,000 is really nothing. And I'm most certain she would put a plaque, a banner, sign, something.
Ruth?
You said she, Galt, isn't Galt? Oh, I'm thinking of Bassett, never mind. So, well, so Galt, yes, I think it's a garden is a good thing to support. And a QR code, I want to mention, usually just brings you to a website, Linda G. So you hold up your camera, all you do is hold your camera on your phone and show it the QR code, and then your phone opens up a link. Would probably open up a link to the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council website. And that's all they do. Thanks.
And it takes you to the website, and then we should have something on the website that it goes to the front page, the front page of the website.
I don't know how to design a QR code, but you can design them. So I would think it takes you to a specific place on the website or the homepage. Michael's shaking his head, so he knows more about it. So I think
I told you, I don't want to learn either. Danica, and then Linda, and then Gary.
So I think maybe, you know, I'm sure if we paid to have a banner printed, it's a couple $100, but not even that, you know, 3x6, and, you know, have our, you know, Galt Street Garden sponsored by Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council, and you can put the QR code on that. So that way you cover both those entities.
Linda, and then Gary.
Well, you mentioned QR code. We do have a QR code. I've saved it in something for outreach. Not being a person who uses QR codes, I've never used it to see what it does, but it's specifically, as I understand, for outreach to drive people to our website. So I could forward that to whoever would like to see it, and maybe you'll know more about it than I do.
Yeah, Jeremy set that up way back when, but I didn't know where it
Yeah.
actually went to. Gary?
So yeah, everything everybody else has said is correct. The Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council does have a QR code that Jeremy generated. It's currently in use on our water bottle labels that are in storage, and it's currently in use on any literature that our neighborhood watch block captains send out. And all it does, as Ruth said, is it directs people to the homepage of our Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council website.
Okay. Okay.
Uh-huh.
That's exceptionally good. Well, there we go. That with regard to what Danica mentioned about PR at the Galt Street Elementary, the banner sounds like an excellent idea, something that would go on a fence. But as it exists today, there is a permanent plaque at Birmingham that specifically says at the drop-off and pickup point for students that the benches and what's set up there is all provided by Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council. Now that's a long time ago. However, it's permanent, and I think if they're going to do a community garden, I would like to see a sign or something up in front of the garden that's got our logo on it and says Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council, whatever it says, supports, helps provide something, especially considering that in past years, I'm a lot older than you, but anyway, it used to be that most schools, maybe grade schools, but middle schools for sure, had gardens on the property, and kids were taught how to take care of things, be responsible, cultivate, how to plant things. It was exciting. So I think bringing that back to schools that don't have it, and the kids that have never been exposed to it's wonderful. I for one would support it.
Gulf Street School is where Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council met uh, for in-person meetings. And they do have a sign, and I think it might still be there, that says Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council meets here. And I think it might have the first Wednesday of the month. And just FYI, I have 3 kids, so I attended Birmingham for 6 years. I have never seen the plaque, just saying.
I have.
Perfect. Danica, did you have something to say? No. Okay, Michael?
I had a question for the permanent sign or temporary or on a banner. Is it part of the $1,000 budget, or is it an addition to the $1,000 budget?
Additional.
Okay.
Additional. Now, I think there might be something going around, because at the neighborhood council meeting March 2nd, we declined to provide funds for Encino because the school was in Encino and it was not in Lake Balboa. So I have a feeling that their schools are looking for funds to do this, or maybe they're being asked to do this. And the first one out of the gate was Encino, and the second one out of the gate is Galt Street School. And I think, again, in my own opinion, it's a worthy cause. How does that get people to help us get the city to do its job? It's outreach so people know we exist. Are they going to come to meetings? I would like to see more. Anyway, Danica, and then Linda, and then we're going to vote, and then we're on our way.
Hey, I'm not quite understanding that kind of little philosophical thinking, because senior symposium, people going to senior symposium, how does our outreach there get them to get the city to do their job? How does
Because I'll respond to that, because we get to talk to them. We get to tell them that the neighborhood council is this, that we meet on this day and we have these committees. We don't have that opportunity other than our logo. But you know,
okay, well,
it's like many other things that we do. Like if we were going to have a booth over at the CATS event, we could talk to people where we can't talk to people. It didn't happen with robotics either. I mean, we gave $5,000 to 2 different schools for robotics, and we didn't get attention, if you will, or.
Yeah, but we've given to other organizations where we didn't have a booth or anything, you know, in the past. And, you know, and I think educating our children, that's an investment in our future. So that's kind of in a weird roundabout way.
Okay. All right, 2 more, Linda and Ruth, and then we're voting.
I agree with Danica that I think that this is something that would be not necessarily promoting what we're doing as a function of the city in that. However, this would be something where the students are going to be doing something, and the parents hopefully may be involved. And there are a lot of parents, obviously, who are in Lake Balboa, and we could take advantage of that fact, even if we partnered up with a day to get parents to come and see what the kids are doing in the garden. And if there was a nice plaque there or a sign that was stuck in the ground that said, this garden is here partially because of, or whatever it says. Anyway, has to do with Lake Balboa. I'm still positive for it.
Thank you. Ruth?
Well, one thing that the Galt, and I don't remember the other school that we gave the robotics money to, but when people
Bassett.
ask, Bassett, oh, gosh, that's what I was thinking. So when people ask, what has the neighborhood council done? I've often said, we donated $5,000 to Galt and Bassett for robotics. And now Bassett went to like the national championships, right? That one year,
Right.
they went really far. And that was because of our neighborhood council. So on our page on the website where it says accomplishments, we could put accomplishments. Robotics team from Bassett went to, nationals. And I think that's a pretty good accomplishment. Okay, if it didn't get people here to our meetings, but I still think it was a good and worthy and a good thing to do. And it's one of the bragging points that I use, like when I neighborhood council has done, this, and that to me, that's a big one. So,
Perfect. Okay, Linda, we've already discussed, so I'd like to, somebody make a motion and then we take
I
a
know,
vote.
I think this would be important with regard to what you're talking to about MPGs. In the past, we as a council have donated to any number of MPGs. And unfortunately, in some cases, making sure that we get a thank you or we get feedback or PR or promotion from the recipient does not always happen. That's something that actually is supposed to be a part of the NPG process. And I think it's up to Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council, if they are going to do an NPG for a particular amount of money, then wherever that money goes, Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council needs to get a response, and they need something positive from the recipient that gives credit to Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council for doing what they've done by providing those goods.
I got it. I got the motion. I move that Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council support Galt Street Elementary School's garden with $1,000 only with the ability of recognition to Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council via sign or plaque being displayed by garden or at the school somewhere.
I'll second it.
I don't know, Ken.
You're not on the committee.
Remember.
I'll
Sorry,
second.
Tom.
I'll second it.
Okay,
Okay, Linda Gravani, your vote.
no,
Danica Middleton is a yes. Linda Schwerin,
Yes.
2 yeses, 1 no. Motion passes.
okay, so it'll be on the agenda for April 6th to be continued. Okay, so I want to remind everybody about the funding reminders. Linda Schwerin gave me an update. The 2022 event approvals will end by May 20. So if there's going to be any events that we need to get funds for, the 20th of May is the last day for approvals. June 1 is the last day for check payment on anything. So if you need to be reimbursed for something or checks need to go out, June 1 is the date. June 20 is the final date for any bank card transactions. So if you need something purchased, for example, for Home Depot, or if you have Home Depot, Office Depot, or flyers that need to be printed or whatever, it needs to be in before the 20th of June. The July budget is due at Department of Neighborhood Empowerment on the 1st of July. So that means we need to discuss it prior to. So some of these things that we're discussing tonight, if indeed it doesn't happen with this fiscal year, think about it and say, hey, when we have our May meeting, that we discuss what we want to have on the budget and what things we would like to purchase and or contribute to in the future. Linda Schwerin, really quickly, because we need to move on.
Yes, I know we do. If you already mentioned this, I'll be quiet. Did you also mention the final date for event approvals?
Yes,
Okay.
May 20.
Exactly. Okay.
Thank you. Number 8, discussion and possible action regarding outreach promotional items. I'm going to just run through the list and see what you can come up with if you want to come up with something else. whatever funds that we have left over, we're going to use, of course, we're going to spend it, but I want to keep in mind that 2023 is elections for Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council. Michael, most neighborhood councils have elections every 2 years. And I personally found, and the board agreed with me, that, okay, you have new people on the board and they're just getting up to speed and it's time to stop and do another election. And then you got new people on the board and then you keep, okay, training people, this is how you do it. And then, okay, now we're up to speed, we know what to do. And then we have to stop and do elections. So we voted to have elections every 4 years. If a board member can't stay on, they simply resign. And then we appoint someone else like yourself. And the beat goes on. So we have some history of how to do things and what's happening, so that we just are not in a constant flux of trying to get candidates, first of all. And really, it takes 2 years to get the stuff together so that when it's time to go out and recruit people, we should have already done it. So I want us to keep in mind that 2023 is an election year for the neighborhood councils, and that we will need outreach items. Talking about outreach items would be our t-shirts. I Heart Lake Balboa t-shirts. We have a bunch of them in the storage room, but it is a hot item and people love them. And I think any extra money that we have, we should be using for t-shirts. I also thought maybe that we could design a t-shirt for Jesse Owens Park when that finally gets moving. I don't know where it stands at this moment. We also need to get polo shirts for board members, so we have to have that in the budget. And the polo shirts are different. It says the Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council here, like Linda Schwerin is wearing. And also in the past, it has been discussed that maybe we should have hoodies because we do things outside and we cover up our polo shirts and nobody knows that we're part of the neighborhood council. Tote bags, bus benches, welcome letters. Tom Riley was involved with the welcome letters, and that hasn't happened in quite a while, but we, for your information, Michael, we wrote out welcome to the community when someone purchased property in our community. And Tom Riley was able to get the new owner's information. And we sent out the letter with a back letter telling of the different committees that we have, and not necessarily when they meet, but where to find when they meet. And we stopped that because it was referring to Galt Street School. We needed to create new ones. Is COVID over? Isn't it over? So that's kind of at a standstill, but I would like money in the kitty so that we can do that when we're back to normal. And Tom is going to tell me how to do that because I'm a realtor also. The pamphlets, I understand, was updated, but I've seen it, but I don't know where it lives so that we can update it. Kristen had a good idea, and let me see if I can get that signage. Let me share. I apologize. Hey, isn't that great? This came from Kristen Fujitaki, who was the communications officer before Jeremy. She saw this, What Brings Joy, and it was done at a school. And it's a banner. And the kids were writing on it, and she felt that we could have a banner like this, that we could have at various functions about what do you love about your neighborhood. And I thought that was a really neat idea. The one that she showed us where to purchase it was $50, but Minuteman would be available for $40. I don't know if this is something that you think would be of value whenever we do something like at movie night, to have a banner like this and have people sign it. And then we can have it as part of our website or some way to let people know that people love our community and these are the reasons why. The other thing is neighborhood watch signs. Bear with me just a minute and I'll get rid of this.
You might have a new share button.
I'm sorry.
You might have a new share button. So you click on the new share and then the screen comes up and you click on the one you want to share. Oh, very good.
Do you see the warning?
Yes.
Okay. I've looked into this a couple times and the signs on my street are faded and or peeled. And because we have a neighborhood watch program in place, I thought we should revisit it. This particular logo is copywritten. And the city of Los Angeles says this is the preferred sign to use. They have vendors on the vendor list. This is one sign at the end of my street, and here's the other one. The city says you don't need approval to post a new sign. You don't have to go through all the hoops that they say, as long as there's a sign already. The only thing you have to do is use this, and they give you a list of providers. None of the providers have the agreement with the copywritten program. So we're kind of at a stalemate, but aside from that, I figure we can work around it. We can get it done. I contacted the company that does provide or does have the copyright authorization. And I don't have the exact figures. I'm always prepared, but I can never find it at the meeting. It's about $51 for each sign. And I'm thinking putting these signs up where there are existing ones is going to be extremely expensive for the neighborhood council. But I was thinking if we somehow purchase and get reimbursed, and I don't know how that's going to work, it would be about $60 for one sign, not including the installation. And I'm thinking that there are people on the block that would like it, that would chip in. Or for me, I would pay the $60 to put the sign up. And I think there might be a lot of people that are willing to do that. The company that has the copyright for this is also willing to put Lake Balboa on it, if that's what we would like to do. And there's also the Blue Eye that is not sanctioned by the city. Department of Transportation is in charge of that, and there's some hoops to go through. But I think it's a good way for us to promote the neighborhood watch and the neighborhood council. And I'd like some discussion on that. We also had tote bags, and there's a lot of things at the last emergency preparedness meeting. There were a lot of items that could be used maybe not right away, but in the future, for your important papers, to scan them and put them on a flash drive, that we might consider doing that. But anyway, I'm open for some discussions on what we might want to present to LBNC as to items that we would like to purchase. So I'll stop sharing. And let's chat. Danica, Ruth, and then Linda. You're muted. Danica, you're muted.
What are we looking at?
Ruth, go ahead and go, and I'm gonna have my screen share up by the time you're done.
Thank you. Ruth?
Oh, so sorry if I wasn't listening, but are these the signs metal that you're talking about?
Yeah, they're the signs that the city requires. It's got anti-graffiti on it, it's got anti-fade on it, and all of that fun stuff.
Right, because the ones that we put up were plastic, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And then
No,
you
I
had
agree.
to, you had
Sorry.
to figure out a way to put it on a pole that's high enough. And quite honestly, we needed approval for that. And if we, like I say, if we want to replace, we're allowed to do it without any hoops. The difficulty is without any hoops to jump through. We're blessed. We can go do it as long as there is one there now. The difficulty is the installation, and that's Department of
Right.
Transportation. I don't know what they charge. They want to know what corner, what street it's on. So if we have an area that, okay, all the people in the area want to put up a sign, maybe then we can tell them where to purchase them. There's a lot of loose ends, but I don't know if we want to pursue it. I think it's a good idea. But it's just one of the many things to think about for outreach.
Yes, well, I wanted to say that I think metal is much better than plastic. And I have ones in my neighborhood that are, I don't know, 12 years old. They're kind of faded, but they're metal and they're hanging in there. I could probably stand to have them reused, but I think the money is well spent because they'll last much longer. I think there are people who would be willing to either put them up themselves. That's how they'd happened in this neighborhood. Before I was on the neighborhood watch, but like, 25 years ago or something. And neighbors put them up. And so I think there'd be people possibly willing to pay for them and put them up. And it's a good idea. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Danica, you ready?
Yeah, hang on, let me. Yes, okay. Let me share it now. Okay, I have a couple of thoughts. Okay, so you can see my screen now, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm thinking, sometime in the near future, possibly for merch, having this, like our bird, because I'm hoping the one day soon that Welcome to Lake Balboa sign will be up there on Sherman Way. And then incorporate the I Heart Lake Balboa with, we can also put the QR code on here too. So, but until that happens, I think I would love like water bottles. People, are constantly using water bottles. These are very cheap. They're like, $1 each with your logo on there. Or magnets. People have them on the refrigerator. Every time you go and get that snack that you don't need to add to your hips, you're going to see Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council meeting, or our QR code or whatever. And we do have a plethora of people walking in our neighborhood. We do have an active neighborhood, I think, compared to a lot of other neighborhoods. And people walk their dogs, they walk their kids, the kids walk them, and these have reflectors on them too. So just my thoughts for some things. I have broken some costs down if you want the costs. I think, if we could also do like incorporate these into tote bags. So whenever we're at a function, we can put all of these items in a tote bag and pass them out to people.
Linda Schwerin?
Okay. I see some nice things here. I see that some of them might be a little pricey if we were going to do a lot of them. I'm thinking of the cool hat, but in any case, if we have funds to spend, if they can be used, let me go back, just jump back a second. You were talking about the neighborhood watch signs. A question. Am I correct that on our neighborhood watch project that currently we are using the iWatch symbol, not the neighborhood watch preferred symbol on the
Correct.
stickers that we purchased? That's correct?
Yes.
Okay, that answers that question. And then whenever you are ready, I have some outreach items that I can screen share with you as Danica has just done that might be possibilities for our upcoming events.
Well, she is talking specifically about the ones that she has, so we'll hold with that. And Ruth, do you have something to comment on what Danica's? Okay.
Yes. The water bottles, I just wanted to mention to make sure that they're good ones, because I had got some once from a doctor's office that was a promotional item. And you couldn't open it, you can close, it was just, they were awful, and I threw them away. So I would just say, you know, don't get them so cheap that they're not functional.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'm not personally excited about the water bottles. I'm thinking about giving them up when we go to a function. We need to cart these things around, so the smaller it is, the better it is, I think. I do love the cap. I think it would be great with I Heart Lake Balboa on it with the QR code if we could do that. For me personally, the bird on there, people won't understand what that is, I don't think, and it would take away from the I Heart Lake Balboa.
Okay.
I do think the magnet is a good idea. Cynthia, who used to be president when I was a brand spanking new board member, always wanted a list of phone numbers in the community that someone can go to put on the refrigerator. So that might be something to think about if we decide to do that.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they're easy to cart around. Cheap.
that's right. That's right. And in the past, it was recommended for Senior Symposium that there are these credit card magnifying glass kind of things. It's all plastic, but you can just take it out and you can put it to something if you don't have your glasses, if you need them, or it's a very small print. I think we might consider doing something like that. We do have a lot of seniors, although we have more young people moving in with children because us old people want to stop mowing the lawn and have our kids take care of us. Is that why you're moving, Tom?
Yep.
Oh, no.
Anyway, we don't need to decide, but I would like perhaps ideas on what we can spend money on and have it available for us, or unless we want to vote on it tonight, to have money to be spent on. I think the majority of the funds would go for t-shirts. And Gary, if I'm correct, you said there would be about $7,000 left over. And if we make it $6,000, and I believe EP has about $4,000 that would be left over. So that's another $9,000 that we have that will go back into the kitty. So that's a lot of money, but it means a lot of t-shirts. And again, next year, we don't want to have to buy this for the election year. Linda and then Danica.
Okay, let me take my hand down. We have a couple items that we may want to consider tonight that would be include it on something for
Okay,
next month's meeting. Did I send to the committee members information with regard to outreach suggestions? It's a sheet that lists possible items and refers to the symposium, etc. I thought I sent that to everybody. Did I?
you did.
Yes,
I did. Okay. I have something that I can screen share or show you with regard to the hand sanitizers, the event bags, which the emergency preparedness event has already approved. Also some whistles and pens and something new and different that we have not had before that I could show you a screen share very quickly and then
Please.
you can go on. Okay, so let's hope I can do this. Okay, let me do this first. How do I show you something before I screen share so you know what it is?
You don't.
no, what you can do, Linda, is minimize your Zoom screen and then, before you screen share, and then pull the item up on your desktop. And then go back to the Zoom and click screen share. And that way people won't see all your files and whatnot and all your.
Okay, well,
gibberish.
what if I'm, oh, here. How's this? This is this. Okay, one of the items that's on the suggestion we have purchased before are refillable pocket hand sanitizers. Here's a sample. Whoops, how about well, of course, it looks like a mirror, but Lake Balboa logo, of course, refillable. And these are about $210 for 100, $360 for 250, and $682 for 500. And that includes tax, but you would have to add shipping to that. And we've had those before. We've used those at events, and we've used them for EP. They were popular. Okay, so that's that. Okay, the other thing that's on the sheet that I sent you that I can show you is called Key and Light Whistle Key Ring. Let's see if I can do this. Here we go. Can you
Yeah,
see
we can
that?
see.
Okay, all right. So the logo is here. You push the button on the back and it does have a little red light so you could open your front door. But it has a great emergency whistle. They are great to go on a key ring. And they are great. Oh, these are good to keep in your car. The one that I use all the time is so worn out you can't even see it. But they are very popular. They're not expensive. You could get 500 for about $485 or $95, and 250 for about $240. And these are part of what was on that sheet I sent you, so
You
you
were
can
going to
see
share,
them.
were you going to
Yeah.
share the sheet?
So quickly, I already sent everybody the sheet.
Well, Michael's here and Tom is here and Gary is here and they don't have it.
Oh, geez, I hope I could do that for you.
So I think that's a great idea. If you haven't gone to an EP meeting, which I hadn't, before I joined the neighborhood council, the whistles are extremely important for emergencies, because if you're stuck somewhere, it's really hard to yell help all the time, but you have the energy to blow into a whistle. And that's why the whistles are so important for emergency preparedness, because you do have the strength to blow the whistles. And I think that's something that would be absolutely on the list of things to purchase. Danica,
Yeah,
you have your hand raised?
in case you might get mugged, they're great for that too.
Oh,
I'll screen share after you've done with
well, we're waiting
Danica.
for you to screen share.
Oh, I thought you, okay, so here we go. All right. Oh my, that was interesting. The whiteboard has nothing to do with me, neither does that. I have no idea where this came
Okay,
from.
while you're doing that, Michael has his hand raised.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I also like if we were to keep the hand sanitizer on the list, even before the pandemic, that was one of our biggest, things that people would grab is the hand sanitizers. And I think keeping one's hands clean are so important. So
And it's
I
easy to
agree.
keep in your pocket or your purse or your car. And again, because of emergencies, your hands may be filthy and you need to do something or help somebody with a cut or a wound. So I think that's a great thing to have as well.
Okay, so here, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, I'm screen sharing one of those little hot and cold pack that are beads. It's 4x4 and they cost about $1.83, including tax. We would have to pay shipping. And I will bring up the sheet for everybody who didn't get it. But those come out to, let's say, $1.83.
What
Probably
is it? What is it?
it is a hot and cold pack that is logoed. People can either heat them in the microwave or you can put them in cold and you can use them for emergencies. You can use them for certain muscles. You can take them anywhere. And it's something that's logoed that people would keep. And every time they pull it out, what are they going to see? Lake Balboa. So that's one item.
So it's not a one-time use?
No, no, you use it over and over again. You can put it in the microwave or put it in your freezer.
Huh.
Now how do I take this off of here? Do I just press exit or wait a minute?
click the share screen sign again to unshare. Should give you that option.
Oh, that's gone. Uh-oh, what happened with that? Okay, here's another one. Geez, I'm hoping this is
I
not
do like that
working
idea.
out.
What size is that?
That was 4x4. There are also some that are, oh shoot, that are
Here's 4.
circular, and they're round. And I'm trying to share something with you.
Is that something we should have in the emergency bin?
Well, it's something that anybody could use anywhere.
I
In the
understand, but is that something we should have in the emergency bin?
No, I think what we would have in the emergency bin would be a lot more elaborate than that, something that would be more extensive. I am trying desperately to bring up something else for you. And what I see is, what does it say? Ditch the 40-minute limit. Oh, here, wait a minute. Stop sharing. New share?
Yes.
Do I press new share?
Yes, try that.
Okay. I see things that are coming up that have absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about. Wait a minute.
Well, you, okay.
Okay. I don't know what all of these other things are that are coming up. They have nothing to do with anything that I would have shared with you. Don't know where they came from. Pooey. Okay. That's not a happy thing. Well, what I was going to share with was the hot and cold pack. The one you saw is rectangle. There is also one that is round that is slightly less expensive. And I can send people pictures of that if you wish. The other item is ballpoint pens, which of course we have done forever. The ones that we use are like this. They're white with the Lake Balboa blue logo on it. And they come out to about $200 for 500 pens. So that's not bad. If you want the same type of a pen, that's a metallic one that has the stylus at the end, you can get 500 for $350. So 2 items that are very inexpensive that don't wear out, and that's just 2 more ideas for you. That's all I had to share, and if you don't have that sheet, I will disappear for a minute and try and get it for you.
Thank you. Gary?
Thank you. I was just going to say that perhaps we want to take into account that our storage unit is not climate controlled. So before going and buying too many pens or hand sanitizer, stuff that can evaporate or just go bad, we may want to take that into account. And the hot and cold pads, I think, is a great idea. I don't think it's an EP item per se for an emergency for the storage bins, because at that point you don't have a freezer to put it in or a microwave to heat it up. But I still think it's a great outreach item for people to have throughout the year when there's not an emergency. But I thought those were all great ideas.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so whistles, hand sanitizer, hot and cold, caps, t-shirts. Anything else we really want?
Magnets?
Magnets?
Pens,
And yeah,
And what?
the pens,
Got that? Tote bags?
yes.
Do I want to talk about the Coyote Whistle?
I think, is that specific for the coyotes, or is it just a warning? Can the whistles do as well?
I don't know. The coyotes are up the street. I can't use the whistle on them. I don't know. Basically, what coyotes don't like, in theory, is noise. So if you can make the whistle loud enough, then they'll run away.
Okay, it's expensive, the one that you showed me.
Mhm.
I think it was 3 for $11. And I think that's really too expensive for a handout. My own personal opinion. I think I have it somewhere. Let me see. I've got a dog underfoot. Hold on a second. Michael?
no, I was just gonna say, do a time check. It's 9 o'clock, in case we have other agenda items.
This is it. And the dogs are going to go crazy, but hold on a second. Got a light.
You got it. It gets louder.
And my dogs are upset. Danica?
It's been my experience with coyotes that if you clap your hands really loud or scream or yell or whatever, they'll run away.
How much are your hands?
The other thing that I would like for us to purchase is not necessarily an outreach item, but it is to put outreach items into. We have the huge containers in the storage facility with all these t-shirts. And if we buy more t-shirts, we may need some more storage bins. When Jim Stein purchased it, he didn't have the thought that it's going to have to be transported somehow. And we know that it's really dusty and dirty in the storage unit, so we have to put them in something. But both Linda Schwering and I no longer have our big SUVs to put those bins in. So we need smaller bins that would have small, medium, extra large, and a large, so that we can transport the t-shirts to whatever event we're going to. So I am going to put that on the agenda, but I don't have pricing at the moment. So is there anything else? Whistles, hand sanitizers, hot and cold, caps, t-shirts, magnets, pens, tote bags. We'll need pricing, and we'll need to know what the price break is, if indeed there is one. And then we'll discuss the pricing and put it onto the agenda. Do we want to add anything else to that list? Ruth and then Gary?
Any more water bottles with the Lake Balboa logo on it? Would that be, I don't know how many we have.
We do not have water bottles in storage.
Oh, okay.
We have water. I mean, that we can put the labels on that Gary had printed.
Okay.
So you would go to, you know, a grocery store and put the labels on, but
it.
it's not a water bottle.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, Gary?
And as you were just going through your list, I don't recall if you just re-mentioned, I know you mentioned it earlier, but the USB thumb or flash drives.
Yeah, I don't know what
But-
the cost is for that. And just FYI, if you weren't at the meeting, they now have digital, what do you call it? Digital, I forget what it is. Anyway, who's in charge of your passwords? Giving power and authority so that if somebody has to go to Google, for example, or the iPhone, the authority is given to a person in case of emergency, and that would work. And those kinds of things would be on the flash drive. Is that something we think we can have it logoed and we can give it out? Is that something we would like to pursue? Linda?
If it is, I have a couple sources. I could easily get prices for you.
Now, I asked the people that are in the know, there's like a hub that you put the flash drive around, like they can have 10 on one hub, and you can download the information so that it is there, so you can pass it out and fill in, you know, so you plug it into your computer and it'll ask you a question, you fill it in, and then you have it with you. And you can send it to family out of state or neighbors or whatever. Is that something we'd like to look at? I think it's a great idea.
I
I'd
think
rather
it
have
sounds-
baseball caps.
It sounds like an EP thing to me.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's also outreach. Gary?
Linda, just to clarify, I think, because we were at the same Zoom for the EP meeting over the weekend, I think what you're referring to was the digital executor.
Thank you.
But
Yes.
that's not
Yes.
what the thumb drive or the flash drive was for. That was, the thumb drive or the flash drive was to have a bunch of files of EP preparedness stuff on there that people can look up for various different disasters. I don't believe the thumb or the flash drive had anything to do with the digital executor, but I could be mistaken.
I think you're right, Gary.
Oh, I thought it was to fill in information on their personal.
No, because we wouldn't have the ability, there could be a file on there telling people, you know, making a suggestion that they may want to have somebody and how to go about that. But all of this little thumb or flash drive would have is a bunch of files with information as to how to or what they should do, how to plan to evacuate, you know,
Okay,
but it was not the specific information as to who you're naming to get into which files.
thank you. Danica?
I'd rather have a baseball cap, and plus two, then a lot of other people can see the baseball cap. Thumb drive's gonna sit in my desk drawer.
Right, but we're trying to figure out interesting ways to spend money that we can use for some event, whatever. So I'm looking at ideas that we can spend a whole lot of money and not necessarily doing all of this on April 6th meeting.
Oh,
We
I
could
thought we
do-
were trying to, okay, never mind.
No, we can do it in May. But again, I've given you the dates when everything has to be done. So we have to have an idea that we want to buy 1,000 t-shirts and it's going to cost X amount of money, and then we'll bring it forward. That kind of stuff I would like to do for the April 6th meeting. So I don't necessarily think we want to vote on it now, unless I would like to have the things that we've already discussed that these are things that we want to pursue and put it on the April 6th Lake Balboa agenda. So that's whistles, and that's the one that Linda showed us, not necessarily the orange one, because we need to have the logo on everything. So it's got a little light and it's got the whistle and it's a keychain. The hand sanitizer, a bunch of those, the hot and cold, the caps, t-shirts, magnets. We have to decide what's going to go on the magnets, the pens and tote bags. Linda?
Just to give you kind of info, the last time that we did shirts, we did.
I don't necessarily need pricing right at
Yeah,
the moment. I would just like to know, because we're running late and we're
Okay.
not prepared for that. I just want an idea of the things that we have in our back pocket that we can say, okay, let's vote on these items. And then
Okay,
at the meeting,
okay.
we can say, this is how much it costs per item. This is the break. And we want to use as much money as we possibly can by the end of the fiscal year. Is
Okay,
kind of my thought.
I'll try to get you detailed information on prices
Okay.
for that, because the t-shirts and the hats are obviously going to be a lot more expensive, so we're not going to get as much bang for our buck, but they would get reused.
Absolutely. Michael?
Is that a question? I know these are promotional items mainly for adults, but do you ever order anything for youth or,
We have
children?
kids t-shirts, but that's the
Okay.
only thing that we have for kids. Do
Okay.
you have an idea?
Yeah, I was just thinking if you're still looking for ideas from now and through next month, then maybe I can come up with something.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I'd like to move that Lake Balboa pursue promotional items, specifically whistles, hand sanitizer, hot and cold, the caps, t-shirts, magnets, pens, and tote bags for possible purchase for outreach.
I
Is there a
second.
Gravani made the motion, Danica seconded. Any further discussion? I think we've beaten it down. Okay, let's take a vote, please, Danica.
Ravani,
Yes.
Middleton is a yes, and Ruth. Oh, Schwerin, sorry, Linda Schwerin.
Yes.
Thank you.
3
Okay.
yeses, 0 nos, motion passes.
Perfect. Discussion and possible action regarding website updates. The work group looked at several websites, and the assignment was to look for some more if we have some ideas that we would like to see. We also, as I mentioned before, need a method that we need to identify things that we need to tell the webmaster about. We want to find a way to keep people or stakeholders coming back to our website. It's boring. Aaron DeVandry did say that a lot more people go onto Facebook pages or YouTube as opposed to going onto the website, but the website is the mainstay. We're advertising it everywhere we go. So I think that's still important. One of the things that I would like to see on our website is government awareness, which we're not doing. I think we need to show various council files or various things that the city is doing, seeing that's our charge. I did ask the committee chairs to please look at council files and let us know what's hot in their specific area. And I've gotten nothing, but I do think it's extremely important that we put something like that on the website. I thought pictures would be good of what's happening, but we're not out and about. So it's not something that is, if you're there, you already know about it, and it's a fun thing to see. The other thing is historical info. We were going to have Jim Stein do, did you know that this street on Lake Balboa was X, Y, and Z, or this is where the orange fields were, or whatever. But he's no longer on the neighborhood council. I think he might consider doing some articles. But again, when we ask specifically for updates, we don't usually get it, so it's difficult. Gary and then Linda.
Thank you. 4 quick things about the website. One is at 7:13 tonight, while we were having this meeting, I received an email reminding me about a health and public safety meeting starting in 1 day. That meeting was canceled long ago. So not to throw anybody under the bus, especially people that aren't here to defend themselves, but we either have an issue with James as committee chair not communicating to Aaron Devandry, or Aaron Devandry not connecting the dots. And this email should not be going out to stakeholders saying that there's a meeting that we already know has been canceled. So if the website work group could look into that and figure out what we need to do, because it's not the first time this has happened. It's happened with other committee meetings as well. Second,
Before you go on to the next item, did that come through with that says Empower LA,
this is,
the email?
it's the Neighborhood Council's Empower LA Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. Yes.
Okay, that's a Zoom issue, and that's James Brown.
Okay, fair enough.
And I'll explain what happens is when you set up on Zoom future meetings, the meetings are going to send out a reminder. And if you're canceling the meeting, then you need to go into Zoom and remove that date. And that date hasn't been removed. So it has nothing to do with the website.
Gotcha. Well, I'm sure our stakeholders and would appreciate all of our chairs knowing
Yeah.
that, so that we can prevent that from happening in the future. When you go to the website and you go to about LBNC and you double click on it, it still states that in the verbiage that our meetings start at 7 p.m. versus the 6:30 start time until further notice or until we're in person. Relatively minor, but when you open up the calendar and if you then minimize the calendar to come back to it later, the tab is labeled Calendar-Granada Hills North Neighborhood Council. So clearly that's one of Aaron's other neighborhood councils, and somehow he has the links. The information that populates is ours, but the document title is coming up as that. And then lastly, there's a new tab that's been added fairly recently under the Neighborhood Watch, the LAPD tab for the LAPD West Valley, that theoretically has some very useful information for our stakeholders. But sadly, the 2 documents that are there, the 2 links that are there go to non-updated or very outdated information. And I feel like we're going to have a link to the LAPD's website, West Valley. It should either be with West Valley should have updated information available, or we shouldn't have a link there and be directing our stakeholders to information that's outdated. All the captain's information are incorrect. The senior lead officer information is incorrect, and stuff of that nature. That's all. Those are the 4 points. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Linda Schwerin and then Ruth.
Yeah, and Gary is right about the LAPD stuff. And I would say that that is something that LAPD or whoever is responsible for that in their PR, they need to update it because it's been out of date for a very long time. So I
Right,
don't know.
but
We need to, yeah,
right, but we shouldn't be disseminating the information, so we should just take
no,
that link down.
that's true. If we have it, it should be general. It shouldn't be detailed because it's incorrect. I haven't had a chance to check, but perhaps Gary or someone else will know if there is anything on our website that specifically states where we have forms for MPGs. Do we have that? I didn't have time to check.
Yes.
We do. Okay, fine. Then my only other suggestion would be as far as a format change, that when we open up the page, that at the top right, local Lake Balboa calendar should be at the forefront, at the top, rather than
Are you
things
meaning
that
at
are
the opening page?
on the opening page. Yes.
On the opening page, it is currently at the top of one of the scroll downs.
There are oftentimes I don't see anything for calendars for committee meetings and other things, and it may be that that information just was not provided. I don't know, but that's something that the committee chairs can check. The next thing I wanted to mention was the fact that do we have any kind of best practices with regard to who on the board is allowed to make requests of the webmaster to post things? In other words, is it just committee chairs? Is there a restriction so that just, if I'm Jane Doe board member and I want to post something, I don't think that I should have the ability to do that without getting approval from somebody on one of the committees, because it's too much time for the webmaster and it may not be accurate.
What are you thinking you would be posting?
Well, committees would post meetings. People who want to do e-blasts.
For what?
Things
An e-blast for what?
for whatever. My point is,
Okay,
who
what I'm
has-
driving at is this something personal that you want to put on that you know about? Or
No,
is it,
no.
wait a second, is it an event? If it's an event, then you need to be using that scheduling form that we talked about earlier, so that this goes out at a specific date and time.
That's true, but who has the permission or the ability within the neighborhood council to take that upon themselves? And
Communications officer.
okay, does that mean that we have people doing outreach events or other things that are coming up, and those people do not necessarily arbitrarily get to just go to our webmaster and say, hey, put this up? I don't think that's right.
No, it's the communications officer.
Okay,
So
So that's-
it funnels through the communications officer so that there's one point of contact. The information is provided by the chair or the person in charge of that particular event.
and
I
do we have
don't,
that in writing anywhere?
not
is that
yet.
part of our-
We're working on it.
Okay, that's good.
Ruth?
Oh, I just wanted to say, when I tried to join the meeting tonight by going to the website and clicking on the Zoom link, yeah, I got a little window that said, please wait for the host to start the meeting. So I was waiting and waiting, and then I texted you, and then I thought, well, this link isn't working. So then I stopped and signed into my Zoom account and put the meeting ID number in, and that's how I was able to join. So I don't know if the meeting ID number was on the website or not, but if people were trying to join, they wouldn't have been able to from our website.
There shouldn't be a meeting ID required because it's an open Brown Act meeting.
Well, how are
I'm
people
not sure.
besides
So
us?
it might be a Zoom issue, or it might be outdated information. I'll look at the website and see what it is.
I was able to join from the website. I think I was able to click on the link from the website.
Oh, interesting.
I couldn't do it from the agenda, but I did it from the website.
Okay, so some of the things that we had discussed previously on the work group is what it is that we want to change on the website. And Ruth, you said you were going to be looking for some ideas on how the website could look. The other thing is the webmaster. Do we want to change webmasters? And if so, who? When we had our initial meeting, we looked at several different websites and several neighborhood council webmasters that were approved way back when. And we researched a little bit, and the assignment was to find some more if indeed we could. So Linda, Ruth, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I would say I do. I feel that our webmaster is responsive to our needs. Our needs have changed over the last few years. And if we communicate this, as well as providing some visuals or some ideas, I think that we will get the result that we're looking for. And at this point, I don't see any need to change webmasters. I am satisfied with the current one.
Ruth?
The web corner was the one from Encino Neighborhood Council, and I couldn't locate that. You had sent a document with the list of those 4 or 5 webmasters and prices, and I couldn't locate that again. And I didn't contact them soon enough. I apologize. I didn't really get much research done, but except looking at Encino's website, which I liked quite a bit. Anything I didn't like was that when you want to read the bylaws, you have to open up a PDF instead of just having to, when you open up ours, it's just right there. You can read the print. But everything is pretty much, right at your fingertips on Encino's. It seems like if we follow through and make sure Aaron does the things that we ask him to do, then they happen, and sometimes they don't happen. There was a list, the email that you sent him, a list of things to change. And there was something I want to ask you. I didn't write it down. What if he did go ahead and change something that you asked him to change? The new things, but from the Neighborhood Watch, that part looks good. I think it's up to us to do the proofreading, like the thing about Granada Hills Neighborhood Council being on the tab, and we have to do the proofreading because he doesn't do it, obviously. So
I think Aaron changed the look of the website, and when he originally sent it out, he said this is what he was recommending, and it was what he set up for Granada Hills.
right.
That's how that happened. And he posted it. We didn't actually say, yeah, let's do it. So it's there. Gary and then Linda.
I do want to commend the work group and Aaron, because I do think the website has improved dramatically or drastically in recent weeks or months. That being said, the work group was formed based upon issues that came up at board meetings. For us to sit here and say that Aaron is doing a great job and let's keep Aaron, I think is premature. That we're all obviously have our opinions. I think it's still prudent that Aaron isn't grandfathered into being our webmaster indefinitely. I think that it's time to meet with other webmasters, make presentations before the board as to what they offer and what their rates are, and let Aaron do a proposal and a pitch to keep the account. But I independently of the work group, back when Annie started the work group, was working with her and supplying her with information of research that I was doing, reaching out to various webmasters who are more than willing to make a presentation, who do other neighborhood councils. And I don't feel that would be fair to meet with them and have them make a pitch or a plea or a presentation at our neighborhood at our neighborhood council meetings without having Aaron having the same options. So I still think that we should be doing our due diligence, and I think we owe it to the stakeholders for us to understand to this date, we still have not been provided a contract or any written menu of a la carte services or fees that we're paying Aaron, what he charges for what. And it's fine if we're getting a great deal from him, but that's not enough. We should know what we're paying and what it costs, and if we have to pay somebody more, but to do it and do it more punctually or accurately or whatever it is, that should be discussed.
Yes, he's already done that.
No, well, it hasn't been.
And he's provided it to the council, and he's also provided it to the city.
Well, I don't, when you say the council, I'm on the council and I've never received it.
I think it was before you were on the council, Gary.
Okay,
Perhaps. I thought it was published for the council.
no, I've been asking for it for quite a while.
This has, this I think was when the expiration of the 3-year contract with the 10, then I think down to 6 and then down to 5 webmasters that the city approved. They had to provide this kind of thing, and that's what Aaron provided to the city, and therefore was it was agreeable to Dunn and Bonk and the city clerk that he was able to.
And he provided something new to the city last year or the year before. I keep thinking 21, but with COVID, I may have lost a year. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Linda Schrein, when you say that he provided something to the city, but to the neighborhood council as well with what his rates are and what?
Yes, and I truly thought that was something that had been sent to the board. I could be wrong. I don't remember, but I know that it was discussed, and I thought it was done.
Listen, at the end of the day, when we've met with different webmasters and seen their presentations and heard their proposals and their pitches and compared the various charges, maybe at the end of all of it, the answer will be Aaron is the person to stick with. But just to stick with him because he's been doing it and because he does other neighborhood councils,
that's
I don't
true.
think is reason enough. And I'll leave it at this, but he has done some things that he wasn't instructed to do. He's taken initiatives and some creative liberties and done things that he shouldn't have been doing and abused his position. And I'll leave it at that.
That is accurate. And an example of that would be the Granada Hills website. He said, this is what I'm planning to do for Granada Hills. And then all of a sudden it was on our website. So I do agree with that. I also agree that some of the things that we've asked or has happened in the past was because we, the neighborhood council board, were lax in providing him with that information. And again, with that schedule that I was trying to put together will help us do things appropriately in the time required with advance notice and the oversight of the communications officer. Those things should go away. Once they go away, perhaps then we should look at, okay, now would be a fair time to go look at other webmasters. Is that something we want to do, or do we want to look for webmasters now?
Not right now. I don't think not right now.
Too late.
Say again?
It's too late. It's 9:30. Remember, I'm old. I gotta go to bed.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so do we want further discussion on it? Not necessarily tonight, but at Lake Balboa
Yeah.
Neighborhood Council?
Yes.
Or do we want to leave Aaron until we've got our act together and then say, okay, this is where we're starting? He has been the one and only webmaster. And that doesn't mean that he should be in the future. But I do agree that things should not be posted unless we ask for it. And things need to be updated and it should be current. But that's not his fault that something isn't updated if we didn't send it to him. So we're walking by a fine line. Linda and then Danica.
I think that this is something that we need to keep our eye on and review. I do not think that making a move to change webmasters at this point is necessary, although we may need to do that down the line. The one thing I'd like to ask this evening is, I would like to see something on our website that shows pictures with captions or a blurb that says, this is what we've been doing, something that is visual and will give information to people that go on our website. I have a few things, not many, but who do I ask for permission? And what do I need to do?
Is it an event?
Events that we've had within the last year or even the last 2 years, even though it's been COVID, if we have a shot of our participation or information about it, our event that we did and how we promoted our community with a photo, that's what I'd like to get out there.
Okay, I would again think that would be communications officer. Because again, it's outreach. And
It is. I
Uh,
agree. I didn't know who'd give it to.
exactly. Was there another hand that just went down?
Yeah, it was mine.
Did you want to say something other than let's adjourn? Okay, we'll table Aaron for the time being. We meet quarterly on this committee meeting, but we can meet in between on any special meeting. I do have to officially say public comments. Does anyone have any comments on anything that is not on tonight's agenda? Perfect. Number 11, board members and Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council block captains, thank you for all you do for our community behind the scenes. Even though our stakeholders don't know what we're doing, we do. And we know that it takes a lot of time and energy. So I, for one, appreciate you. Thank you very much. And at 9:34, let's adjourn the meeting.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good night, everybody.
Michael,
Yeah.
would you
Good
wait for
night.
just a second?
Sure.
I'll stop the recording.